Once you're familiar with the basic connections on the SD9, there are some advanced configurations that require a little more explanation. These include the sharing of racks, advanced synchronization settings, and the setup of the network for remote control. Let's start with the sharing of racks. The SD9 to DRAC Cat5 connection is a single point-to-point connection between the console and the remote rack. There will be times when it would be useful to be able to share a rack between two consoles, maybe a front of house and a monitor setup. Sharing the rack would mean that only a single rack is needed and no analog splits are required, simplifying the setup. In order to share a DRAC between two SD9s, you will need to use a little red box. This box is part of the range of Digico solutions, small format conversion and sharing boxes that allow multiple consoles to share a rack. The little red box specifically allows a rack, either a Cat5 connected DRAC or any of the Digico MADI connected racks, to be shared between two SD9s. At this stage, it's probably useful to understand a little bit of the terminology used in rack sharing. You'll hear these phrases used whenever we talk about rack sharing. If a console is in control of a rack, so that it is in control of gains, phantom power settings, and able to route audio to the outputs on the rack, that console is in full connect or full control. However, if a console is sharing a rack and only able to accept inputs from the rack and unable to control the rack or output audio from the rack, it is referred to as being in receive only. When we set the shared status of racks in the audio I/O panel, they are set up using these two terms, full control and receive only. There's a third expression, isolate. If a shared rack is set to isolate, you are completely disconnected from the rack in terms of control data. The flow of audio from the rack to the console is not affected by these modes. It is only the control mode that is being set. So going back to our shared rack example, if we connect up a red box using two SD9s and a DRAC, 3 connections are required. A Cat5 from each console to the box, and a third Cat5 that links the rack to the box. The SD9 plugged into the full connect port has full control of the rack and can access the outputs of the rack. The SD9 plugged into the RX only port is in receive only mode and only has the inputs from the rack. Using the same setup, you can share a MADI connected rack. Just flip the switch on the little red box to MADI, and the MADI connected rack is then shared between the two SD9s.